Welcome to Sib Spot. Today's stories are about Am I the Bad Guy? Our first story is by A Lost Battlefield. Here's what happened. My wife was due to fly in one of the most popular airports in the world last night at around 9 p.m. Her landing time was 8:50 p.m., no checked luggage, so I told her I'd be there at 9 p.m. At about 8:05 p.m., she apparently started calling my phone, but unfortunately I didn't see or hear the calls until around 8:15 p.m. This is because, like her, I keep my iPhone with the little silent switch on at all times so that it just vibrates. I didn't hear the vibration because I had my gaming headset on and was gaming and talking with friends. Keep in mind, I wasn't expecting any calls from her until after she landed. When I finally realized she was calling me, I looked at my phone by chance. I picked it up and she told me that her plane had landed early. In this airport? Unheard of. And she told me to leave now. I just said, okay, I'll see you soon, and hung up. This is where the Am I the Bad Guy comes in. I thought it was fine to finish my online match and left the house 10 minutes later. I drove to the airport and there was a ton of traffic, as usual and as expected, and I didn't pull up to where her and her friend were waiting until about 9:05. As fate would have it, that was pretty much the original time we had planned on picking her up. To make a long story somewhat shorter, my wife sprung the fact that we had to bring her friend home as well, which I was fine with. They lived a few minutes away. Everything was fine until after we dropped the friend off. Then, my wife showed me how upset she was that I made her wait an extra 10 minutes, and that there was a huge difference between waiting 30 minutes and waiting 40 minutes. At first, I kinda laughed it off and tried not to be upset back at her, but inside I was thinking, hello? I'm doing you a favor by driving to the airport and picking you up in the first place. Why are you getting upset over waiting 10 minutes longer than you wanted when people sometimes wait hours to be picked up at the airport? Eventually, we had a little back and forth about it, but I was just sick of arguing over something so small to me, and I wanted to just agree to disagree, and my wife was also sick of talking to me, so I wasn't going to apologize. So I just went to sleep. Am I the bad guy? I feel like this isn't an apology-worthy event. You can't just land almost an hour early and expect your driver, even if they're your husband, to drop everything they're doing and come pick you up immediately, right? Wrong! And you're the bad guy in this case. I'm somebody who definitely stands up for gamers' rights in a way, but you finishing a 10-minute match with your friends is the issue here. Not the fact that it was 10 minutes. The fact that you continued to play your video games instead of going to pick her up. That's ridiculous. You can stop playing and go pick her up and then play another 10-minute match later. You could have taken 10 minutes extra getting ready at home and she probably wouldn't have cared had you done that. Had you had to pee, use the bathroom, fix your hair for 10 minutes. But it's because you were playing video games for 10 minutes. At least in my opinion, you're the bad guy here. Our next story is by Solid Bid 256. Am I the bad guy for jumping off a train before the doors closed and abandoning my pregnant wife? I know the title sounds crazy. I'll try to explain this the best I can. I'm 29 and my wife is 25. She's also 5 months pregnant. Recently, we decided to go on holiday together. Nothing fancy, just to the coast, which meant we had to get a train. We had maybe 3 rolling suitcases and one of those army-style backpacks. There was no issue as we boarded the train, and we sat down and put the luggage next to us. About 20 minutes into our journey, we heard an announcement over the speakers that the train was being diverted, which meant it wasn't going to stop at the station we needed anymore. As it was saying this, the train was coming to a stop at the next station. I panicked and told my wife we had to get off or we weren't going to be able to get where we needed to go. I got up and started grabbing our things and rushed off the train. I couldn't believe it when I looked around and saw she hadn't gotten off. She was trying to grab our 3rd suitcase. I had the other 2 and the backpack. Unfortunately, it was too late, and even as I rushed to the doors, they closed. My wife looked like she wanted to kill me, and the train pulled away with her on it. I called her to tell her to get off at the next stop and I'd get the next one and meet her, but she was absolutely irate and told me the holiday was canceled and she was going home. To top it off, she told her family and mine, and they're all furious at me for abandoning a pregnant woman on a train, headed to God knows where, with a heavy suitcase. My father-in-law told me I was an idiot for what I'd done. I feel like I was in the right, but my wife and family have other ideas. So Reddit, am I the bad guy? Yeah. Not a severe bad guy, but you should have just gone with her. She should be your priority, not getting the suitcases and getting off the train. I've seen people like this in travel situations where they panic and think that they will literally be stranded completely if they miss a stop or they go on a little further to another city. You can always get back. There's always things you can do to get where you need to go. And you don't need to panic. You need to be there with her and help her. And, down in the comments, Chewbacca Roar 13 says this, and I completely agree with this. A good driver occasionally misses their exit. A bad driver never misses their exit. And that's true in most cases. If you're panicking while traveling and you're convinced that you have to get this exit right here, you can cause accidents. Whereas somebody else knows you can go, it might be 10 miles forward, it might be 30 miles forward. Go forward, turn around, come back. There's always a way to get to your destination. Our next story is by Throwaway Sister Please. Am I the bad guy for not letting my sister use the family property for her upcoming wedding? I'm 25, my sister is 29. I also have a younger sister who's 8. When I was 14, my mom sent me to live with her parents. Her excuse was that they needed me to help out. I believe she just didn't want to deal with a growing male teen. My grandparents owned an amazing property in the mountains, and it has an amazing view. We also had some horses and other critters. They were also quite wealthy as well. They both passed 4 years ago, a month apart. They gave me the property because I would appreciate it and respect it more, while my mom and sisters got money and other assets, overall valued more than the property. In the past 4 years, I turned part of the property into a venue for mainly weddings. The grandparents knew of this idea and they thought it was a good one. We are busy and usually booked about 8 months out. My sister got engaged 1.5 years ago and said she was going to be married at the property. I said yes, but just let me know the date as soon as possible so I can make sure it's booked. I never got a date. I followed up several times and kept asking her. She would brush me off. 2 weeks ago, I got the wedding invitation, stating the property is the location and the date, which is in September of this year. I immediately called her to say that we are booked for that date and cannot accommodate her. Well, now her, my mom, other family, her partner's family, as well as other flying monkeys have been blowing up on me. They are also calling and writing reviews for my business. I asked them to stop and call my sister, telling her that all she had to do was tell me that she knew her date so I could book it and I would take care of everything else. She went off on how I am ruining her day. It's our family's property. How she already sent out the invitations and couldn't go back now. I should just tell the other couple to cancel. They've been on the books for over a year now, and I actually like them. Family is more important. After the last big blow-up, I started communicating strictly through the business, using our recorded line as well as email. I suggested 3 other dates around the same time, but that's not good enough. I'm being resentful and being a bad guy. 100% not the bad guy in this case. Your sister is being a bad guy. I can't believe she suggested that another couple should cancel their wedding because she made invitations already and sent them out. She's dumb for doing that. Plain, dumb, stupid, whatever you want to call it. And everybody that's supporting her on this, it's not just your grandparents' old property anymore. It's not just the place that you live at anymore. You made a venue out of it. And she was welcome to use it, but you told her she had to book, and she didn't. She lost out, and it's her fault. There were some great comments shared below, as well as a story from Florida, of all places. Top comment is by Wildcat12321. Who the F sends out invitations for a date before even contacting the venue? Not the bad guy. I was all ready to read a story about OP saying no or fighting a family versus individual ownership and some personal drama. But there's none of that. It's really as simple as sending an invite for a date without even asking the venue. I just don't understand how people can be so consumed in their own weddings. So thankful my wife was not like this. And then below that, Jovit Hunter said, "It reminds me of the people who just decided to have a wedding at a mansion without telling the owners, sent invites, and showed up on the day, claiming they had a right because they prayed for it or something. Wacky." And then shortly after that, shared by For the Watch 39, he linked to the actual story, and I read about it. They showed up at this guy's mansion property on the day of their wedding, and they'd already sent out invitations, and it was a beautiful piece of property, and they thought it was abandoned. And they just showed up and said that God spoke to them and told them that they could have their wedding there that day. Like, these people are nuts. And of course, the comment below that by Dr. Whoop87 says, "Of course it's Florida." Our stories have come to a close for today. Until we meet again, have a knockout day.